clear dynamics has 100% changed now with NLI and whatnot. Like it is complete. It is amateurism at its finest, but it's professional sport. No,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fascinated by this NLI stuff. I think we have, I mean, like, obviously a lot. It's all changed in the last 2 years. Like, I actually left right before NLI became.
you got out at the right time.
I
You went
yeah,
out with your ring, and you're like, "See it, figure it out, y'all." Like,
and now I'm like, obviously I'm not privy to the conversations and what's really happening. I'm it's just as an observer, but it does strike me the fact that it's completely changed the game for the major sports. I can't speak to the softballs and the soccers and the swimmings, although I'm sure there's some trickle down effect. But basketballs and footballs, I mean, you're seeing it right now, like with women's basketball. And I'm not even going to speak to the sports that I don't follow as closely, but it's become free agency, right? Like the transfer portal and this ability for athletes to say, like, you know what, um, this is not the place for me. I can make a lot more money somewhere else, or the opportunities are greater for me somewhere else. And like the way that it's changed and like how fluid and chaotic it feels right now is something that I don't know how you manage that now as a coach. Like, for example, um, if an athlete can transfer this readily, does a coach have to then pander to the needs and wants of the athletes differently than they would have in the past? Like before, sort of like, I got to play the best five players, the best 11 players on the soccer field or whatever, and I make decisions for the best of the team. But now you're trying to make the decisions based on, I need this player to stay here for 4 years. What do I need to say? What do I need to do? You never stop recruiting, right? Like,
oh
because,
no.
and I don't, that's not that that's different, but I don't know. Like, what do you perceive has changed because of that?
I see. I'll tell you what. I think Lane Kiffin has done there's an article that came out recently where he's like, "Look, I'm not saying the word family. I'm not like it is a business now, and we're just going to go about it as a business." I think he also has done a really good job of saying, "Hey, we need to put regulation on it." Just like anything else, it's still brand new. It's in its infancy stage. Go back and look at like who was it? I think Reggie White was like the very first free agent NFL player, and then that kind of changed everything because teams like that's how the dynasties were able to kind of happen because people couldn't leave and make things better. So I think regulation within the NLI is coming and they'll figure it out because like you said, the recruiting never changes or excuse me, it never stops. And I think it's going to take some people to finally be like, hey, it's not worth like the fact that I'm never not doing it. And then with the regulation and with rules on because it's just like anything else. Like when there's nobody overseeing what's going on, that's where problems are, and then that's when things will start to get better, in my opinion. But we're in that transition time because, like you said, it was only 2 years ago that you were still in it, and this didn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe how quickly it switched. And like now, like so when I was in, I remember it was sort of like the athletes I was working with were faced with a decision of, do I go pro and make probably not very much money because, unless you're top 1% of the WNBA, for example, you're not making a whole lot of money. Or do I stay and get my degree? And or do I do a fifth year? And almost everyone was like, let me stay, because the WNBA doesn't offer as much money. But now it's a completely different conversation. How long can I stay in college because of how much money I can make in NLI,
I was just
right?
talking about that with my coworker Amit, who used to work with women's basketball here. He works with men's basketball now. He's talking about some of the bank that these athletes are making.
It's insane. It really is. But all the more reason why we have to be educated in business and in
Mm.
communication, because we have an opportunity to then teach our athletes what we like and help them and mold them and grow them. I'm not saying that we should be like go off and like
Yeah.
be
Hey, let me broker this deal for you. Yeah.
but these are organic conversations that are going to come up anyway. And I think when you're able to, for example, have an athlete that like these people are managing brand deals, and I know most of them have help, but and speaking on a national international stage for in on behalf of million billion dollar brands, like, like just insane. they have to know how to communicate, and they have to know how to speak about what they care about and what's important to them in a way that's authentic and a way that's just to, gosh, I can't imagine as an 18-year-old being able to put words to what I believe in or what I mean, even. Like, I wasn't at that level at that age.
So a couple of things I thought about hearing you say that, putting the strength coach hat on, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. My athletes can make money not having to go work a job. I'm like, awesome. Like, I don't have to worry about them staying up late, or, I've had kids here at Towson because maybe there's not as much money and they need to get money in their pocket. They're working at Domino's, they're working at the local pizza joint, and they're on their feet and they're staying up late at night, or it just interferes with the ability to train them. And it's like, all right, if they can make money without having to go somewhere, I love it. Then the other thing that I thought about is, you were talking before we got on about how lucky you were to had parents, or no, you talked about it on the show, or I don't know. You were talking how beneficial it was that you had parents that educated you on money, and it was just a conversation. We, as strength and conditioning coaches, take pride in the fact that we touch the athletes all the time, and we have the ability to teach them emotional intelligence and all these things. Now, if you are one of those people like yourself who was educated, you can start to have those conversations, because I know I've been the one that was like, hey, use a credit card instead of a debit card because it's easier in case there's fraud, and you can use it like I think it just opens more and more conversations when we realize that it can be for the better. It's like anything else. It's not inherently good or bad. It's how we handle it.
I think I really, really appreciate what you just said, because I think something that I really struggled with early in my career was this conceptualization of what my job was and how it had to fit in this little tight needy box.
Yeah, like you're in this little box here, and then here's the athletic trainer over here, and then like we're gonna just like
exactly. And it was the way I defined my role was how my role was defined on paper by the athletic department, instead of by the needs of the athletes and even the needs of the team. And sure, that would expand based on like, hey, coaches need you to take on nutrition responsibilities on the road. Fine. I get that. That wasn't on my like job description necessarily, but like happy to do it because it makes sense. Like nutrition, strength fits together. But like if you'd ask me like, hey, do you ever have conversations with them about money or about like mental health stuff even, or psychology, or school and like things like that, I would have been like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to touch that because it feels outside the realm. And yet I don't think that's because, like, how is that different than me helping them with nutrition stuff? Like, I think at a certain point, like, of course I'm going to refer out. Like, I'm not a mental health professional, but I can still speak to them about things that like, I can speak from my own experiences, first of all. And I do think that we have a responsibility to teach what we know within the scope of how it's going to apply to them as an athlete. And I think I'd always been scared to touch these topics, maybe because I wasn't well versed enough. I'm not really sure, but I'm not saying like all strength coaches should go and like offer financial advice. So like just picture like a line of athletes outside my office.
I'm going to put that right across the bottom of this portion. Like, this is NFA, non-financial advice. Do your own research. Like,
right. Like have my athletes, hey coach, like how do I set up my 401k? I'm like, whoa, like let's like not go there. But I think during COVID we saw this shift in what was needed from us as professionals, because my job no longer was about sets and reps. It was about checking in, making sure you're okay. Like, what are you doing to take care of yourself today? And even like
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.